President Donald Trump is in Wisconsin visiting Kenosha. Senator Ron Johnson and Congressman Brian Stile greeted him when Air Force One touched down. Thank you for joining us. I'm Amber Noggle.
And I'm George Smith. The president's visit follows the police shooting of Jacob Blake, major riots in the city, and a separate shooting in which 2 people were killed during unrest. The president toured damaged areas, saying he would get it fixed up and help businesses rebuild. He also met with law enforcement at the Emergency Operations Center at Bradford High School and praised the work of the National Guard members who stepped in to help. The president was then part of a roundtable where he blamed the unrest in places like Kenosha on Democratic leaders.
It's all Democrat. Everything's Democrat. All of these problems are Democrat cities. We don't want to say it, but it is. The top 10 are Democrat. Then you go into the top 25 and take a look at that. It's the same thing.
Trump said Republicans want to increase police funding.
We have live team coverage in Kenosha. Our AJ Byport is standing by after speaking with some who support what the president had to say and his visit.
But first, we go to Capitol Bureau Chief Emily Fannin, who has you covered on the pushback from some in the community about the president's visit. Emily?
George, Amber, right behind me is the site where Jacob Blake was shot by a Kenosha police officer 7 times. It's also where you hear some music and people celebrating. Black leaders, community members, neighbors, all coming together to uplift one another. They said their main goal here today is to contrast between President Trump's divisive comments towards protests and peaceful demonstrations like this one.
To pull our black community together, to put our differences aside and work.
Black community leaders and members of Jacob Blake's family spent the day bringing the community of Kenosha together, all gathering at the site where Jacob Blake was shot in the back 7 times by a Kenosha police officer.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Dozens filled the streets to show President Trump that communities like Kenosha can peacefully protest against police brutality and racial injustices. Justin Blake, Jacob's uncle, said the president's negativity towards black communities and his family is not welcome here.
He keep his disrespect, his foul language far away from our family. Absolutely. We need a president that's going to unite our country and take us in a different direction.
Reverend Jesse Jackson and Congresswoman Gwen Moore also joined in to celebrate Black lives and Kenosha community members. Moore said this event is important to contrast against the rioting, violence, and looting this city is still recovering from.
Not to give Donald Trump the backdrop that he wanted, the chaos which would enliven his campaign, and to just come out and have a moment to thank God for the life of Jacob Blake.
Since protests began here, the Kenosha Police Department says they have arrested 175 people. Now, 100 of those were from out of town. Reporting live in Kenosha, Emily Fannin, 27 News.
All right, Emily, thank you. And the president's visit brought some tense moments between people who have differing political views. AJ Byport continues our team coverage. And AJ, did anyone offer solutions to the tension?
Yeah, Amber, first off, let's just say I have not seen or heard of any physical confrontations between supporters of President Trump and those here protesting his visit. Now, sites like this one, though, this burnt-out used car lot, well, it really drives home the 2 opposing points that we did see today. The supporters who say the president coming is a powerful show of support for this community, and the protesters who say Mr. Trump is only inciting violence by coming here. We did see a number of heated conversations as the 2 sides would occasionally raise their voices or point their fingers to make their point. We also saw measured conversations, though, where people disagree but without any name-calling. The rioting last week ended with the loss of life. Kyle Rittenhouse is charged with killing 2 people. His lawyers say the Illinois teen acted in self-defense.
If you saw the live streams of the riots and the burning, you would understand why people feel like they have to protect what is theirs. But I would just rather the police and the National Guard do that.
I don't want to make an opinion on it because it's going to be in the courts, and he's going to be judged as a hero or a criminal. I don't know.
By mid-afternoon, most of the people here to support President Trump's visit had left the area around the courthouse. The number of protesters grew ahead of a scheduled march that happened at 3 o'clock today. Now, at the peak of the two sides shouting at each other just down the street here outside the county courthouse, I saw one man, a street vendor, selling Black Lives Matter shirts, and he told me, I remember a time when Republicans and Democrats could disagree but still sit down at the same table and eat together. Nowadays, it feels like we're at war with each other. Reporting live in Kenosha, AJ Bayatpour, 27 News.